Hi guys, Ray here, City Fan TV. Hope you're all doing very well. I'm still here in this Science Centre. Got one more show today. I've done 4 shows already. Last show and Bank Holiday weekend will be over. Right guys, I want to talk about KdB. Okay, KdB. Now, he's leaving at the end of the season. My thoughts, personally, I want him to stay one more season. Okay? Personally, I think he's good enough to stay one more season the way he's playing right now. Look, I could be wrong. I got it wrong before. I wanted, when Gundogan came back, I thought, yes, Gundogan's back. He's going to make the difference, and he ain't got it anymore. But I think there's a worry for me this summer. I mean, it's been said for the last 4 or 5 years now, maybe more, that Bernardo's going to leave. There's a feeling that, he could leave this summer. Gundogan, I think he got, was it a 2-year contract? So he's still got 1 year left, but he's just not the player he was. He hasn't got the legs. KdB, yes, he hasn't got the same energy, same drive. I think he's got the motivation, but he's just not got the physicality. He hasn't got the body anymore to do what he used to do 3 or 4 years ago, when he was probably the best midfielder or creative midfielder in the world, bar none. But obviously his injuries have slowed him down, and the other thing as well, from City's point of view, to let him go, he's on apparently about 400 grand a week. Now, City have got this big rebuild project which started in January. It's going to continue in the summer. We've got lots of positions to fill, and we're going to have to get rid of some players. We're going to have to reduce that wage bill. You cannot carry players on heavy wages as well, because PSR, profit and sustainability rules, the FFP kind of stuff, that's going to change. I think it's FFP actually with UEFA. It's going to change. So it's going to be based upon your wages have to be a maximum certain percentage of your turnover. I think it's going to be 70%. Or is it? It's going to end up getting to 70%, but I can't remember the exact percentages. But basically, you've got a maximum level of wages according to your turnover. Now, our turnover's rumoured to be increasing again, which it should be, to well over 700 million. We might be once again leapfrogging over Real Madrid to have the biggest turnover in world football. But we've got to keep doing that because our wages have been rising like crazy. So, as I said, you've only got a limit of a percentage of your wages. You can't do like teams have been doing, paying sometimes 105% of their turnover has gone in wages. It's got to be cut back, and that's the way football is trying. So they're not having a salary cap because I don't think people would go for it, and I'm not sure it's legal European-wise, but they're going to have this percentage on turnover. So City have to cut our costs, and what the biggest cost is that player's wages. So saving 400 grand on KdB, saving whatever 350 grand on Jack Grealish this summer. We let Walker go, that's going to save us whatever 250 grand a week. Maybe Edison goes, that'll save us whatever 150, 200 grand a week. Maybe Bernardo goes, he must be on at least 200, 250. One or two other players, and we've saved potentially up to £1.5 million a week, which we can then go out and buy some new players and pay them. Basically, that's how it's going to be. But we won't be paying these new players 400 grand a week like KdB, or 300 grand a week like whatever Gundogan's on or whatever. They'll be coming in at 150, 120, 180. Some of the better players that we get might be coming in at 200 to 250 if we get some really top players in. So, yeah, we've got to save some money, and letting KdB go is, that's another one of the reasons. But for me, if I had to let anybody go, before KdB, I'd let Gundogan go and I'd let Bernardo go. I think KdB still has a lot to offer, not just his leadership, because he's still got that leadership, he's still got that drive, he's still got that push. He pushes players. He doesn't want mediocrity. He doesn't want to allow other players not to give it everything. Sometimes he looks a bit, I think, disgusted if players misplace a pass or don't get onto one of his crosses or something when he thinks they should have. So his standards are really, really high, and that's really important going forwards. It's going to help the youngsters coming through or the new players coming in. We need to keep some experience. Gundogan would still provide that if, let's say, KdB leaves and let's say Bernardo leave. We still got Gundogan, who's been here for whatever since Pep was here. He was Pep's first signing, so he's been here for 8 years. You know, if you exclude that 1 year at Barcelona. But for me, he's not a game changer. You know, when Rodri comes back, we got Rodri, Nico, and Kovacic. Where does that leave Gundogan? Nowhere, in my opinion. There's better people out there, younger people with more legs and better players, if we're honest about it, with Rodri. And the future is, you could argue, Rodri and Nico, not Gundogan. Bernardo, you know, I don't know what he's going to do when, you know, when everybody's back. If Savinho steps forward next season, if we get another player out wide, he's a great player to have, is Bernardo. But I think the biggest game changer, the person who can make the biggest difference in games, is KdB. He's a class act. You know, so many pundits are saying he's the best player in the Premier League ever. Certainly the best midfielder. And that's, you know, that's a big statement from top players who are top players in the Premier League to say he's better than me. He's the best player ever, or the best midfielder ever, or the best creative midfielder, or whatever. You know, he's really up there. So for me, I want KdB to stay. As I said, I think he's got another year in him. I really do hope that his performances at the moment, they can look at it and say, wow, your performances merits that extra season. Maybe they don't pay him 400 grand, maybe they pay him 200 grand a week. Hopefully he'd accept it. You know, maybe they've already discussed it and said, look, I don't know, you know, we want you for 200 grand a week. We can't pay you 400 anymore. And he said, no. Who knows? You know, it's more likely that they've decided he's cut his costs on that 400 grand a week, as well as he's aging. You know, he's had these injuries. He's not the same player, and we need fresh legs. But as I said, I really would like him to stay that one extra year. As I said, I got it wrong with Gundogan. I'm sure I'll get it wrong many more times. I'm sure you guys will remind me. But for me, one more season at KdB, please. Please, Pep. Please, my cheek is going. But for Anna and whoever's in charge of these things, please, one more season at KdB. It would be fantastic. Guys, let me know what you think. Do you want KdB to stay for an extra season? Would you jettison Gundogan and Bernardo and keep KdB? Is he the man for the job? Or do you say, let the old guy go, let's move forward, forget about the past and keep going forwards now with younger players? Guys, it would be fantastic if you could subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. If you can hit that bell icon, you'll be notified as soon as new videos come out. We'll see you around, Blues.